Imagine you were a surgeon, and your patient just went into shock in the middle of an operation. You have only a few seconds to find out what's wrong and stabilize them. At that very moment, there can be no such thing as "I'll do this later" or "I don't feel like it." If you don't act now, it's all over. Listen closely. There is such a level of self-discipline so extreme that once you cross it, you cannot go back to who you were before, even if you tried. Most people never reach it because they mistake discipline for self-control. They think this is about willpower, about grinding harder, about saying no to everything that brings pleasure. They are wrong. The most terrifying form of discipline is not about denying yourself. It is about becoming someone who no longer craves what used to control you. And that transformation will cost you everything familiar. Your old friendships will feel hollow. Your previous ambitions will seem childish. The person you see in the mirror will become unrecognizable. This is not motivation. This is a warning. There are 7 steps to this radical transformation. But before I show you how this works, drop a like if you're tired of starting over. It helps me know what kind of content to put out. Comment the one habit you're hell-bent on erasing from life. And subscribe, because what I'm about to show you isn't a life hack. It's a psychological weapon. It is not designed to make you feel better. It's designed to make you become better. Step 1. Understand that discipline is not resistance. It is indifference. Since you were born, you have been told to resist your temptations, to fight your urges, to white-knuckle your way through your cravings. That is not discipline. That is war with yourself. When Marcus Aurelius wrote about self-mastery, he was not describing a man wrestling with his desire. He was describing a man who had transcended desire entirely. Watch someone who is actually disciplined. They do not celebrate their restraint. They do not boast about their hard choices. They simply exist in a different reality where those things hold no magnetic pull. This is what terrifies people, because achieving this state requires you to re-engineer your entire reward system. Because your brain currently fires dopamine when you imagine scrolling social media, eating junk food, or pursuing casual relationships. Discipline at the highest level means rewiring those neural pathways until you begin to derive pleasure in the opposite: solitude, discomfort, and delayed gratification so extreme it looks insane to outsiders. You want to know why most people fail? Because they are trying to fight their nature. The Stoics understood you cannot win that fight. You must become someone with a different nature. That is not a one-week hack transformation. That is consistent, deliberate psychological reconstruction. And once you are on the other side, you will not recognize the person who started. Step 2. You must destroy your identity to build discipline. Here is what no one tells you about radical discipline. It requires identity death. Not the poetic, metaphorical kind, the actual disintegration of who you believe yourself to be. You have spent decades building a personality. The funny one, the smart one, the night owl, the social butterfly. These are not just traits, they are defense mechanisms. Stories you tell yourself to justify why you are not where you want to be. Real discipline demands you kill these stories, all of them. Epictetus was born a slave. When he gained freedom, he did not celebrate by indulging in everything slavery denied him. He chose a life of even greater restriction. Why? Because he understood that his previous identity as a slave was a prison, but so was any identity built on external validation or comfort. He had to become no one before he could become free. This is the part that breaks people. You think you want discipline. What you actually want is to become a disciplined version of your current self. To keep your personality and preferences and social circle, just with better habits stacked on top. That will never work. The most disciplined people you have ever encountered are unrecognizable from their former selves. They do not talk about their past because it feels like discussing a stranger. Their old friends cannot relate to them anymore. Their family does not understand what happened. They have undergone complete psychological metamorphosis. And you cannot undergo metamorphosis while clinging to the caterpillar's life. You have to let that version die, completely, permanently, without a funeral. Step 3. Isolation is not a consequence, it is the mechanism. Society sells you a lie about discipline and success. Work hard, build yourself up, and you will be surrounded by people who respect and admire you. False, absolute fiction. The higher you climb in genuine self-mastery, the more isolated you become. Not because you are insufferable, but because you have left the frequency most people operate on. And here is the frightening part. That isolation is not something you tolerate. It is something you engineer. The Stoics withdrew from society regularly, not as a retreat or rest, but as a strategic practice. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would periodically live like a beggar, sleep on a hard floor, eat plain food, abstain from all luxury. Why? To prove to himself that he needed nothing and no one. That complete isolation from comfort and companionship would not break him. This is not about becoming a hermit. It is about becoming psychologically self-sufficient to a degree that most people find disturbing. When you reach a certain level of discipline, you stop needing validation. You stop needing company to feel alive. You stop needing entertainment to fill the silence. Most people cannot handle 30 minutes alone with their thoughts. You will need to become someone who prefers it. Your relationships will not disappear, but they will transform into something unrecognizable. You will help people. You will show up, but you will not need them. And they will sense this. Some will admire it. Most will resent it. Both reactions are irrelevant. That is 3 down. Now we move to the one nobody wants to hear. Step 4. Your suffering must become voluntary. This might be the most controversial thing you hear today, but it is essential. Every single person suffers. The question is not whether you will suffer, but whether your suffering will mean something. Undisciplined people suffer randomly. They experience pain from poor choices, bad health, failed relationships, and wasted potential. Then they complain about it. They are victims of their circumstances. Disciplined people suffer strategically. They choose their pain. They inflict it upon themselves before life does. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man of his time, Emperor of Rome. He could have lived in pure hedonistic merrymaking. Instead, he woke before dawn. He trained physically despite chronic illness. He studied philosophy in his rare free moments. He denied himself pleasures that were freely available. Why? Because he understood that voluntary suffering builds the capacity to handle involuntary suffering. When you choose discomfort, you immunize yourself against the discomfort life throws at you without permission. This is where people misunderstand Stoicism completely. They think it is about enduring whatever happens with a smile. Wrong. It is about becoming so accustomed to hardship through voluntary practice that nothing life does to you registers as particularly difficult. You want to be disciplined? Stop waiting for motivation. Start doing things you hate. Early morning cold showers, intense workouts when you are exhausted, fasting when food is readily available, solitude when you crave connection. Not occasionally, daily. Until your baseline tolerance for discomfort is so high that what breaks other people barely registers. The terrifying part is not the suffering itself. It is how much you will come to desire it. You will start to feel uneasy on days without hardship. Comfort will feel like weakness. And you will seek out difficulty the way addicts seek their substance, because you will have become addicted to growth, and growth only happens at the edge of your capacity. Step 5. You will lose people who love you. Here is the cost no one warns you about. The people closest to you will not celebrate your transformation. They will sabotage it, not maliciously, but instinctively, because your change threatens their stasis. When you stop drinking, your friends who drink will feel judged. When you start training seriously, your sedentary family will call you obsessed. When you prioritize your purpose over socializing, people who love you will accuse you of changing. They are right, you are changing, and they are terrified because your transformation holds up a mirror to their lack of it. The Stoics wrote extensively about this. Seneca lost friends when he embraced philosophy. Epictetus was mocked by former peers. Marcus Aurelius faced constant pressure to abandon his principles for political convenience. They all faced the same choice: preserve relationships or preserve the path. You cannot do both past a certain point. This is not about becoming cruel or abandoning people who need you. It is about accepting that your evolution will naturally filter your relationships. Some people are in your life because of who you were, not who you are becoming. And when those two things diverge too far, the relationship becomes fiction. You are playing a character to keep them comfortable. Real discipline means letting those relationships end, not with drama or explanations or attempts to make them understand. You simply let them fade. You stop showing up to events that drain you. You stop engaging in conversations that lead nowhere. You stop pretending to be interested in things that bore you. And yes, this will hurt. It will feel like betrayal, like selfishness, like arrogance. Let it feel that way. The alternative is betraying yourself to maintain comfort for others. That is not discipline. That is cowardice dressed up as kindness. This next one will shock you, but that is where your deliverance really begins. Step 6. Your goals will become irrelevant. Yes, they will. And not because you stop achieving them, but because you realize that goals were never the point. They were just vehicles to become someone capable of achieving them. Every person starts their discipline journey with targets: lose 20 pounds, build a business, master a skill, make 6 figures. These goals feel important. They drive you forward. They give meaning to the suffering. Then something strange happens. You hit the goal, and instead of celebration, you feel nothing. Because in the process of becoming someone who could achieve that goal, you outgrew the desire for it. This is what Stoicism truly teaches. Marcus Aurelius wrote meditations for himself, not for publication. Throughout the text, he reminds himself that external achievements mean nothing, that the goal is not to become emperor or win wars or be remembered. The goal is to become someone who is unmoved by the outcome of those things, someone who pursues excellence for its own sake, not for the reward. Be the man who finds meaning in the journey, not the destination. When you reach this level, people will think you have lost your drive. They will call you complacent. They are misunderstanding completely. You have not lost your drive. You have transcended result-oriented thinking. You still work, you still build, you still push boundaries, but you do it because the work itself is the reward. Because the person you become through the work is the only achievement that matters. Everything else is just noise. This mindset is terrifying because it removes the conventional markers of success. You cannot show off who you have become internally. There is no external validation for this transformation. You simply know, and that knowledge has to be enough. Step 7. The point of no return will be invisible until you have passed it. Here is the final truth. You will not know when you cross the threshold. There is no ceremony. no clear progress marker. The point of no return in discipline is only visible in retrospect. One day, you will be attempting something that used to feel impossible, and it will feel ordinary. Not because it became easier, but because you became stronger. You will look back at who you were 12 months ago and feel no connection to that person. Their fears will seem irrational, their excuses will seem pathetic, their version of effort will seem laughable. This is the point Stoics called the view from above. The ability to look at your entire life as an outside observer and see your past self with complete clarity. No nostalgia, no attachment, just observation. And when you reach this vantage point, you realize you can never go back. Not because the path behind you disappeared, but because the person who walked that path no longer exists. You have become someone fundamentally different at a neurological level. Your brain has literally rewired itself. Your reward systems have transformed. Your values have shifted. Your threshold for discomfort has expanded beyond recognition. The terrifying part is not the transformation itself. It is the realization that you cannot explain it to anyone who has not undergone it. You cannot describe color to someone blind from birth. And you cannot describe this level of discipline to someone still operating in the old paradigm. So you stop trying. You become comfortable with being misunderstood, with being alone in your understanding, with walking a path that has no guidebook and no companions. Because at this level, discipline is not something you do, it is something you are, and there is no returning from that. So, this is the warning. The most terrifying level of self-discipline is not about adding habits, it is about subtraction. Removing everything that is not essential until what remains is unrecognizable to who you are now. This is not a path for everyone. Most people will hear this and intellectually agree, then do nothing. They will go back to their comfortable patterns and tell themselves they are not ready yet. That is fine. But if you are still here, if something in you recognized these truths, then you are already closer to the edge than you realize. The point of no return is not something you decide to cross. It is something you wake up and realize you have already passed. And when that moment comes, you will understand why it is called terrifying. Because you will have lost everything familiar to become someone you do not yet recognize. But that person will be free in a way you cannot currently comprehend. Free from need, free from fear, free from the opinions of others, free from your own past identity. That is the promise and the price. If you want to become that man, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and understand that you are about to create a transformation most people don't have the balls to handle. The wisdom is here, the map is drawn, but the journey is yours to embark on, and it starts the moment you decide that who you are right now is no longer acceptable. Not because there is something wrong with you, but because you have glimpsed who you could become. And that vision will haunt you until you answer its call. See you in the next one.